Snapchat has become a staple in today's social media world. It's a convenient way to contact friends and keep in touch with people. But sometimes there can be a few privacy concerns if you're not careful. Let's just jump right into it and look at some disturbing snaps people have received in their backstories. For the sake of the person who sent me this, I'll refer to her as Maria. Maria has an Instagram account with 5,000 followers, which is a decent amount, and so she gets a good amount of attention on her profile from men. Maria has a boyfriend who has not appeared in any pictures of hers on her Instagram. Maria also had her Snapchat username in her Instagram bio, something a lot of people do to allow their acquaintances and friends to add them on the app with ease. This can also open the door to unwanted contact, though. Although she didn't add everybody back who added her on Snap, she, at one point, had her privacy settings set to allow all people to send her messages and snaps, even people she didn't add back. So somewhat often, she'd receive messages and snaps from random guys, usually guys who followed her on Instagram. In her words, often older and creepy looking, but according to her, even younger guys managed to look creepy by taking weird angled selfies in dark rooms. Usually the snaps were pretty harmless like this, but one day she received a snap that would lead to her getting the police involved. Maria lives with her family but often stays at her boyfriend's first-floor apartment. This location is not known to anybody except for her close friends who know of her boyfriend, making it all the more disturbing when she received this snap. It was a picture taken through the window to her boyfriend's bedroom. At the time the photo was taken, it's hard to see it in the dark, but Maria was in the bed napping, and her boyfriend was in the living room watching football. There was no caption to the Snapchat, making it appear to be some kind of subtle threat. Maria didn't open the snap until much later in the night while going through the snaps she had received from various people she didn't know. By this time, it was a couple of hours after the snap had been sent. She panicked and screenshotted the snap and showed it to her boyfriend. From there, he replied to the account on her phone asking, "Who is this?" Upon adding the person back, they saw that the account had a pretty high snap score, which, for those of you who may not know, represents how many times they have received or sent a snap. This account having a snap score in the 50,000 range meant it wasn't likely just a random spam account. The person replied, "John, LOL. Maria's boyfriend replied back, "We're calling the police." And John replied, "Okay, cool. Let me know if you need help calling them." After this, the account blocked her. The couple was left to wonder who this person was. A search through Maria's Instagram followers turned up multiple Johns, but with no last name on the account, it would simply be a guess as to who it could be. That same night, as the couple was sleeping, a crash from the living room woke them up. As Maria's boyfriend ran to check the source of the noise, he found it was the dining room window, which had been shattered. On the floor was a house brick, presumed to have been taken from a house being renovated down the block. The couple didn't have a case before, but they definitely did now, and they called 911 to report the incident. Now that a police report had been made, police would subpoena Snapchat for information on this person's account in hopes of locating the person. The couple was assigned a detective to their case, who was supposed to help in identifying the mystery person. However, as the days turned into weeks, little to no information was given. It did become apparent, however, that the Snapchat account had been either deleted or banned because it no longer came up under search results. Currently, Maria and her boyfriend have no idea who this person was, and any thought of it being a prank by a friend was out the window when their window was literally shattered by a brick. It can boil down to a stalker being jealous of her boyfriend, but this would also mean that Maria was followed to her boyfriend's house and that the perpetrator would know where she lives as well. Luckily, with security cameras becoming more prevalent on houses, these kinds of crimes are becoming more difficult to get away with. But in cases like this where there's an absence of any cameras, unfortunately, People may still be able to pull these kinds of crimes off. 3 months later, Maria and her boyfriend haven't seen any new activity at either of their homes. This next story comes from a college student named Tom from the University of Kentucky. Tom shares his location on the Snap Map feature, which you know how things can sometimes turn out with that. Tom lives in a house off campus with 4 friends in a downtown area by a bunch of bars. The squad of guys often walk to and from these bars at night on the weekends. The night in question was no exception. Tom was on his way home from a nearby college bar, about a 15-minute walk from the house. At some point while walking home, he was on a quiet residential street with woods on one side, and he heard someone walking behind him. He turned to see a man holding out something in front of him, walking about 10 meters behind him. He couldn't tell what he was holding, but he didn't stare for too long because he didn't want to draw negative attention to himself. He noted that something about the sight of the man seemed ominous, though. The man was behind Tom for a while, until he turned to the block with his house on it. At some point before making it back, the man was no longer behind him. At least not that he thought. It was only after he made it back inside the house that he got a notification that he received a snap from his friend Luke, one of his housemates who was home at the time. Luke had lost his phone that night, though, so receiving a snap from his Snapchat account meant that somebody had his phone. Tom called his housemates downstairs before opening the video. He also turned the screen recorder on to capture the snap, and this is what they saw. The snap was a video of Tom walking down the street towards his house. It was the man he had seen walking behind him, and what he was holding out in front of him was apparently Luke's phone. They had the idea to check the location of Luke's phone on the Snap Map, since he had his location enabled, as did Tom. The location of his Bitmoji was last updated 9 minutes ago, and its location was right on top of their house. So the 3 guys who were currently home ran around the entire property with all the outside lights on to light up the area. They didn't find the man with the phone, but oddly enough, Luke's Bitmoji moved just a tad as it updated again, yet it was still on top of the house, meaning whoever had the phone had to be somewhere that they were overlooking. After a while, the guys thought to lock the phone using the Find My iPhone feature and then have it play a sound. When they did this, they were confused to hear the beeping sound of the phone coming from inside the house, followed by the stomping of someone's shoes and the front door slamming shut. Luke's beeping phone was still inside the house, but instead of going straight for it, the 3 guys ran outside to chase after whoever just ran out the front door. By the time they made it out onto the street, they had no idea which way the person went. They were out of sight, and they could have been hiding anywhere. After checking the neighbors' yards, the guys went back inside to retrieve Luke's beeping phone, and Tom claims they found it right in the pantry closet, meaning the man was hiding in there for however long. At first, one could have maybe assumed that the person who had the phone was trying to return it until it was discovered that the person was literally hiding in their house. Assuming all the details in the story are true, if I had to guess, the man who had stolen Luke's phone knew who he was somehow and was following Tom through his SnapMap Bitmoji location all the way up to their house. There are some missing details, though, like how the phone was stolen, what the method of entry to the house was, and if Luke and the rest of the guys in the house had any sort of enemies or people out to get them. No police action was taken, apparently.